Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Victoria Ayadeli Fash. If it's your first time here, thank you so much for joining me. For a new subscriber, I love you, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for always coming back. All right. So today I want us to talk about something that I've had a number of people approach me recently, right? About a month ago, a lady, approached me, talking to me about, she was in a long distance relationship for about 6 years, and eventually they were able to close the gap. The guy came over to the city where she was staying, and after he came, it just suddenly changed. The calls reduced, a lot of attitude change happened, and she was worried, and she called me to, she has tried everything that she could to ensure that the relationship works, and it wasn't working, and she called me to see if there's any tips that I have, right? And to me, it was just obvious that the guy wanted an out, but he was not willing to tell her, right? So she had approached him and told him about his attitude and the way it has affected their relationship, and the guy has been telling her stuff like, oh, I'm not ready to come to settle down. I have so much in my head. It's just like a script, because I've heard it said to someone also close to me. I have too much on my head right now. I'm going through a lot emotionally, blah 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 blah. And yes, I'm not saying that people don't go through emotional time, people don't need timeouts and stuff, but a lot of times it's really the person just trying to tell you to leave, but they don't necessarily want you to leave. All right, so today, and then I realized that a lot of people, and this happens to both genders, I've had guys also reach out to me, tell me this new development in their relationship, and they don't understand what is going on. Is she going through an emotional thing, or is she doing this? Do I need to be more loving? Do I need to be this and that? And I could just tell that the lady has moved on, and she wants you to move on, but she doesn't want to let you know. So it happens to both sides, right? So but one thing I've realized is that most people don't know when it's time to pack up, and sometimes it's not even necessarily the other person. Sometimes it could be you. You could have gotten to that place where you are done with the relationship, but you don't know. Anyway, so today we'll be looking at the signs to show that your relationship is over. And this is the thing, right? I always say that don't just go into relationship for the fun of it. There are times you actually go into relationships with the best intention. You want it to end in marriage. This person looks like the best person for you, but sometimes it just doesn't happen that way, right? You end up not, actually settling down with that person. I've said it time and again that it's not everybody that you date that you marry. Some relationships are there to teach you a lesson. Some of them are there for a season, right? And the idea is, don't enter into a relationship with the mindset that, oh, you are going to pack up and leave, right? You should enter into a relationship that you see yourself settling down in. It doesn't mean that it will end up in you guys settling down, but that should always be the goal before you enter into a relationship, right? So anyway, so for this particular lady, we were able to give as much advice as I could, and then after we spoke for a while, she actually came to realize that, yeah, actually he has been giving me these signs, and I'm the one that is not just taking the cue. So let us not talk too much. What are the signs to look out for to know that your relationship has ended? Now, the first thing I'm going to talk about is when the person is breadcrumbing you, or when you are breadcrumbing the person. Yes, and I know you're wondering what is the meaning of breadcrumbing, right? So breadcrumbs or breadcrumbing is from breadcrumbs, right? It's like if you're familiar with the Bible, where Jesus Christ told the woman, when the woman came and said, oh, heal my child, and Jesus said it's not good to give the bread of the children to dogs, and the woman said even the dogs eat from the breadcrumbs, right? Yes, so that's where breadcrumbing comes from, right? So that's basically when a person is giving you just enough attention to keep you, but not enough to sustain the relationship, right? Yeah, so when you're in a relationship and and this was exactly what that guy was doing. Some people call it gaslighting, right? I don't think it's the same as gaslighting. Anyways, that was what this guy was doing to this lady, right? So he would ghost her for days and all of that, and when she's like, oh, you know what, I'm done with this relationship, I don't think you value me and stuff, then he will start to give her attention, then he would call, then he would do this, and then he will go off again. And the moment he feels like, oh, she's about to leave, then he will start to like give her the attention. Like, when you start seeing that happening, that is probably a sign that this person is tired of this relationship, or this person wants to move. Or when you see yourself breadcrumbing someone, right, that you see their calls, you don't feel like picking it, you don't give them the attention that the relationship deserves, right? But the moment it feels like the person is about to leave, then you start to like, oh, call and say all sweet nonsense and all of that, only for you to fall back to your old ways, sometimes. And that is not really a good thing to do to a person. So if you're doing that, that's something that you should probably sit down with yourself and ask yourself if this is a relationship that is worth going forward with, because nobody deserves to be treated that way, right? So when you find that happening in your relationship, that is probably a cue that something is up, all right? And then the next thing that I think that it should be the most obvious sign, but obviously is not, is when there is lack of emotional connection, right? When you realize that the two of you don't connect emotionally anymore. When you just start, and I'm not talking about lust, okay? Because when you start dating, you have all the affection, you want to talk to the person 247. I remember my husband started dating that time, right? I'm literally 247. We are on the phone with each other. Sometimes we are not even talking to each other, just be on the phone. Let me be hearing you breathe, right? And then we'll go to bed and we'll fall asleep on the two of us talking on phones. We'll talk to the following morning, we'll get to work and we'll be feeling sleepy. Oh gosh, those were the days. So that is normal, right? When you just start a new relationship with someone you are emotionally involved with or invested in, you will have those moments or those times when the feeling is high, everything is on high and high. However, when you get to a certain time in your relationship, it will come to an equilibrium, right? An equilibrium in such a way that it's not you guys are actually getting adequate sleep, but are also giving yourself the required attention for your relationship, right? However, the problem is when it goes below equilibrium, right? Where the calls have reduced, your talk has reduced, you realize that even when you're talking, you don't really have much to talk about, right? And let me just put this in context. If you're married, this does not apply, because you will have those times in marriage. It's like me and my husband now, when we're dating, every time we spoke, there was something. We were never out of things to talk about. Especially in a long distance relationship. But now it's different, right? When sometimes we talk and we just, how was your day? How was your day? Day was fine. Have you eaten? Have eaten? Have you sleep? Have sleep? Have you poo-poo? Have poo-poo? And then there are days like that, and there are days that we talk and talk and talk for a long time, right? There are moments like that, and then there are days when we talk for a long time, right? So basically you will have those moments, those low and high moments in marriage, right? And also even in your relationship, right? But when it has been expanded, even in your marriage, right? Even if you've noticed that for the past 1 month, 2 months, you guys, there's nothing exciting, there's no emotional connection, you don't feel that connection to be together, to get to know each other more, to be interested in their life, to know them in a deeper level. When you find that out in your marriage or in your relationship, in your marriage, it means that you guys really need to sit down and talk, because that is a sign that something is up and you guys need to do something to correct it. And the same thing in your relationship. However, if in your relationship you guys are not willing to put in the work, right? You guys are not, especially even if it's from the person, right? It might just be the person trying to let you know that so you're on the call every time, you're the one starting the conversation, you are the one that always have to bring the topic in. The person is not asking you, is not curious about you anymore, your plans, your future goals and stuff like that. That connection you used to have is no longer there, right? So it could also be that you don't even really care about the person. Maybe you're sick, right? And normally the person would call 247 or send you food or whatever, or even just be there for you emotionally. But recently, if you tell them they are sick, it's sorry, right? They don't even try to ask, how can I help, what can I do, stuff like that. Especially if that's what they used to do. You just realize that the level of their commitment has reduced towards you. That is probably a sign that your relationship is about to hit the rocks. Okay, so it's not necessarily you have to end it. It's maybe you need to talk about it and maybe find out, are you still interested in this relationship or not? Okay, now the next thing that I will talk about is when the person's level of commitment, you know, has suddenly disappeared, right? And that's the case for this lady, right? So they've been dating for like 4 or 5 years, right? They had plans that in the next 5 years, or sorry, in the next 2 years we'll get married, especially because the lady, they're at the same age, right? So, and you know, for a lady, if you're in your 28 27, you want to be serious about talking about settling down, especially if you've been in a relationship for over 5 to 6 years, right? And then for the guy, so you know, about a year ago, when they were in the long, before the guy came to the city where she was in and eventually got a good job, right? They had plans that in the next 2 years we'll settle down, these are the things we want to do. But all of a sudden, when he moved in and got this job, he's suddenly saying, oh, he doesn't think he's ready to settle down. He has a lot of things he wants to achieve in his career, or you know, his family's responsibility are on his neck, one excuse to the other. So, and he's not telling you to leave. He's not saying he doesn't want the relationship, and that's what he was doing to her. So he's telling her, I still, you know, I love you, I really do love you, but you know, I don't think I'm ready for a commitment. But you see, the problem is you're not even telling me when you'll be ready, right? So you're telling me you're not ready. You're not saying, so it's okay for you to, maybe your priorities changed or whatever, as long as we can have that conversation and we can come to a reasonable agreement that is good for the both of us, right? So you're not saying that, oh, I know we initially planned to get married in 2 years, but you know, can we, you know, add 1 more year to it? I remember my husband asked me out, you know, he literally asked me to marry him, and I was not ready to settle down. Okay, marriage and me, we were not in the same side at that time, right? And I couldn't see it happening. And then I told him that no, I told him I didn't accept his proposal because I could not see myself getting married right that early. He wanted us to get married that year. I just literally graduated from school a month ago, right? So yeah, that wasn't working 2 months ago at the time, right? And I knew I needed a lot to do in my career, like no. So I remember, you know, I liked him because we had been friends, right? And I told him no, and then I explained to him that I wasn't ready to settle down. My sister wasn't even married yet and all of that. And my husband said, okay, so what are the things that you want to achieve before you get married? And then I told him, and then that was when he told me the famous line, close your eyes, da 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 da, if you give me a chance, this is what I'm bringing on board, da 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 da. And I didn't agree because of what he said. I agreed because I've gotten to know him as a man of his word, and I know how much he loves me, or he loved me at the time. And then I still told him that this year is not possible. And then he asked me, okay, so when do you see us, you know, being foreseeable? And I told him in 2 years. And I was like, okay, how about make it, let's plan 1 year, right? And then if the things you want to achieve, if things don't align, then we go another year. And to me, that sounds reasonable, right? So I want to get married in 2 years, and he's willing to wait, you know, 1 year and give me the grace of the 2 years if things aligns the way it wants. So it was like, can we just trust God, you know, pray towards this and trust God that everything you want to achieve, you would achieve it? And I'm like, okay, give me time, let me pray. And I prayed, I got a leading, and I accepted. So you see, what we had there was a conversation. We had an agreement that, okay, in as much as what we wanted was different at that time, especially in respect to settling down, we were able to like compromise. We were able to have a conversation to see, okay, how can we make this work? And we ended up not getting married till 3, almost 4 years later. Right? Because life happened in between, right? But imagine if I had said no, right? If I just, you know, said no at the point, I would have missed out on someone great. And who knows? I don't know. I'm sure I would have met someone greater, okay? Or someone great, but I can't even imagine. But anyways, yeah, so I'm just saying that you have that conversation. But if all of a sudden his commitment towards you has reduced, right? You know, maybe he's I'm a big fan of, because you're in a relationship with the person, the person takes charge of every of your responsibility, especially financially, but even the emotional commitment, right? You know, them calling you, them checking up on you, and you know, how are you doing and all of that. The commitment has reduced, your commitment to your family. Like now, you know, initially it was very okay for her to speak to your mom and all of that. All of a sudden she doesn't want to speak to your family members. All of a sudden she's giving you the oh please, you are disturbing me, oh I'm busy, right? She's no longer committed to your relationship, and then you're asking her to how far about settling that she's giving you one excuse or the other, that could just be a sign. Because to be honest, a lot of people don't know how to end a relationship. So what they do is they keep on gaslighting you, they keep on giving you attitude until you see the light, right? So not a lot of people know how to end. I know for me, I did I ever end it? I didn't end any relationship, even though the ones that I knew I needed to end, I waited till they ended it with me, or the relationship just died a natural death, right? So yeah, so basically that is a very, very big one, right? When their level of commitment to you reduces, right? Another thing is when you're no longer attracted to the person. Yes, I am a big fan of, and you guys know I always say it on this channel, that physical attraction is not the main reason why you should go into a relationship with the person, but it's also an important factor, right? So when you realize that, especially when you suddenly, and I don't think it happens suddenly, right? It's either there's somebody else who has been giving you side eye, or that you have been giving side eye, or they have been giving side eye, or has been giving whatever. Anyway, so you just realize that, or they don't tell you you're beautiful anymore, or you're cute anymore, or they're always complaining about your physical appearance or everything about you. Suddenly it's like there's always something to complain about, right? And that is not who they are. So the things they usually like about you, all of a sudden those are the things that they are complaining about you now. So if, for instance, she likes the way you dress, all of a sudden she's complaining about how you dress. She used to love your beard, she's complaining about your beard. If he used to love your dress sense or your ambition or whatever, they are complaining about that, right? So the things that attracted you to the person, and I'm not talking about marriage, because I know marriage can be tricky, because the longer you live, the more you realize that there's more to life, right? The more you realize that the things that you found attractive about this person, yeah, anyways, it might not be the right things, right? When you get into marriage, you start to see those things. But what I'm saying is that excuse me, so basically when you notice that they are not attracted to you anymore, they are always complaining about your body, how you look, how you dress. It's always like, oh, can you lose more weight? Can you my sister, what happened when I asked you out? This was how I was. What changed all of a sudden, right? So that might be a sign they're trying to give to you that maybe they are not interested anymore. So you want to have that comment. Again, this is not for you to go and end the relationship. This is for you to realize that, okay, something is wrong and we need to talk about it. I need to know where you are at. Are you still in this? And I need you to be honest with me, right? So that we can both move on. So when you find that you're no longer attracted, that is definitely one of the reasons why you might want to be questioning the strength or the health of your relationship, right? And then the next thing I have here is when everything is an issue. When you notice that you're fighting more than usual. So fight is normal, fight is natural. In relationships you will fight, right? You will have arguments, you will have issues. I mean, God, my husband used to fight when we're dating then, right? There's always something to fight about, but it's not all the time, right? And it's not the little things, okay? When we have arguments, it's because, it's something that is worth having an argument about, right? So I'm not just, arguing about the way he walks or the way he chooses food or the way, when stuff like that starts to happen, yeah, something is wrong. Especially when everything leads to an argument, all of a sudden it's like you can never do anything right in front of the person. Everything you do, there's always something, they are always annoyed. Everything you do rubs them off wrong. Even when you're trying to be romantic or when you're trying to be sweet, they are always and they are not on their period. Now, I'm not saying this if these things happen one off or maybe one off or twice, right? I'm saying that if you've noticed a pattern of them always picking a fight, it's like they are deliberately trying to start an argument. It's like they are trying to start an argument that will make you say you are not doing again, right? So when you start to see those patterns, then definitely something is up, right? Now this one, personally, right, how to know that you are probably done with that relationship is when you can no longer see a future with them. you know, when you're dating a person, it's normal that you always envision your family, your future together and stuff like that. But when you realize that you can no longer see or envision the future with this person, when you picture your life in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years, this person does not fit into your future. You cannot just see yourself together. Yeah, that might be a sign that you are getting tired of that relationship, or something is up, or you guys need to have a conversation about that, right? So you might need to want to ask yourself, why do I feel this way? Okay, or it could be the other way, when you notice that they are not factoring you in their future plans, right? Or they are making plans on their own, and you realize that they are not really, you know, planning as per the two of you together as a team, right? So you might want to ask, what's going on? Let's have a conversation, right? Okay, and then one other thing that I was also talk about is when you realize that you're becoming complacent. Yeah, that's the English, complacent, right? Where you don't even, or they don't even care enough to argue. So now we talked about the fact that, you know, you guys are always arguing, there's always something to fight about every time. But another sign could also be when there is something to fight about, but they don't care to fight about it. So even if you cheat on them, and that's the thing, I think this is so common in relationships where cheating happens. I know, because I know someone very close to me that, you know, for a long time she was really in love with this guy, and he would cheat on her over and over again. But it got to a point where she didn't even care anymore, right? And that was especially for ladies, when they get to the point where they don't even send you anymore. If you like, you sleep with all the girls in town and all of that, just know that the love they had for you, it's over, right? So when you realize that they don't really care to have arguments, they don't even want to have conversations, they are, you know, they don't care. Basically, the person doesn't care anymore. They don't care about the future of the relationship, if the relationship ends or not, if you fight it, you know, they don't care enough to fight, right? Because sometimes arguments and fights is a sign that you care, right? But when there's something for us to discuss that could lead to argument, or that could lead to us having a disagreement, and they don't even, whatever you say, sir, okay, that's it, okay, whatever you say, that's a sign that something is up, okay? And you want to like have that conversation. What is going on? Are you still interested in this relationship? I realized that, you know, it's like you are complacent about the relationship. Whatever happens, you know, they don't make an effort, right? They don't make an effort to make things better. That could be a sign that something is definitely up in your relationship. Now, I think the most obvious is if you're always thinking about someone else, when something happens to you, you know, because I remember my husband, even till now, whenever anything exciting happens to me, my husband is the first person I want to call, right? I want to call him and gist him and tell him what's going on. When you realize that has reduced, right? Now it's somebody else, especially an opposite sex or someone you're attracted to or whatever, you know, you're always constantly thinking of the person. When you sleep now, you know, before you used to imagine yourself with your partner, but now you're imagining yourself with this new mystery man or woman, right? Your attention. So sometimes, for instance, you know, maybe you have a commitment with your partner, but this lady or this guy calls you out of the blue, and you find yourself lying to be able to get out of what you have with your partner just to attend to this other person. My sister, you are definitely gone. That relationship is gone, okay? Or it's the other way around. You realize that they are prioritizing somebody else over you, right? So the two of you are together and he's chatting with somebody else, you know, when the two of you are supposed to be having your time, and it's a lady or a guy, right? So she's chatting with somebody else, or she's calling this a female, a bestie. Every time you get that, yeah, that is definitely a sign that something is wrong. So something exciting happens in her life and she forgets to tell you. Like, how do you forget to tell someone and you've told every other person, especially that one person, but you've not told your partner? Yeah, that's a sign that, yeah, something is up. It's either you're no longer interested or you're just in the relationship to fulfill the rest. Some people are in relationship out of pity, out of, oh, he has stayed with me through thick and thin, and, you know, I'm just there out of obligation, right? So something tragic happens to her also, and every other person knows, or you're finding out from a third party that is definitely a sign that something is off. Okay, another sign is when they forget the things that are important to you, like your birthday, your anniversary, your I don't know, things that are important to you, your graduation day, or you know, major milestones in your life, right, which they are aware of. So I'm not saying that you didn't tell them and you automatically want them to know about, or it's been a while you told them, right? But they constantly, and again, remember I said a pattern, they forget the things that are important to you. They don't show up for you. You guys arrange for dates and they don't show up, and you know, it's one excuse or the other. You just realize that you are not a priority to them anymore. They keep forgetting the days or the things or moments or milestones that are important to you, or you are the one that keeps forgetting. So it's their birthday and you don't remember. I can never forget my husband. Short 2 days, 1 week, a month to his birthday. I tell you, this time next month is your birthday. Where are we going? You know, even when we're dating, right? So I can never forget the person's birthday, or maybe we arrange for a date, and you know, it's a pattern for me that I keep forgetting that. No, I mean, once, twice is excusable, but when it becomes a pattern where you guys make important plans and you keep forgetting, then something is definitely up. You might want to ask yourself if you are still interested in that relationship, or you might want to have a conversation with them to let them know what's going on. You know, a lot of things have changed. You don't remember the days that are important to me and all of this. Yeah, so I don't think one thing of everything I've spoken about is enough to break it off. But when you see a pattern of all these things I'm speaking about in your relationship, maybe not all, but 2 or 3 in your relationship, and it's a pattern, then you definitely want to have a conversation to let them know, hey, is everything okay, right? Now, another sign is, I think this one is in 2, right? The first one is you don't miss them when you're not with them, and the second one is you feel exhausted when you're together. Now, this could be a sign of a lot of things. Could be a sign of maybe you guys spend too much time together, and then now you are tired when you're together or whatever. But to be honest, when you feel exhausted, like you feel drained when you're together, you don't look forward to being together, you know, with the person, especially when it's not like you guys have been together for a long time, right? Maybe you guys have been apart and you don't miss them. You don't like you don't crave, you know, being with them. You don't even remember them. That might be a sign that something is up, okay? And again, I'm saying that this is not maybe after you guys have been together in each other's space for a long time and you get a break. I mean, it's allowed for you to just have your time, but you should miss the person. Like, you should like, I wish this person was here, or this person is here, like this will make this thing better and stuff like that. But when you are apart, you don't miss them, or they don't miss you. Basically, when you're apart, the person doesn't call. If you don't call for days, the person will not call also. You know, when you're apart, it's like you don't matter in their life, right? And then when you are together, it's like you are forcing them to be there. You force them to have conversation, you force them to do things. It's like they don't want to be around you. It's like they're being forced to be around you, right? So yeah, you feel drained when you're around the person. You feel tired and exhausted. You don't feel like doing things that are fun with the person anymore. And when you're apart, it's like the happiest time of your life. When they call you, you know, you leave your phone on silent and then you lie that, oh, your phone was dead or stuff like that. I remember there was a relationship like that I was in. Oh my God, you know, this guy was draining me every time. You know, I was just tired of the relationship. And if he calls me, leave it on voice note, right? So when you start to see those patterns, you need to have a conversation and ask, are you still interested in this relationship or not? Okay, I think second to the last thing I'll talk about is when you don't treat each other with respect anymore. You don't respect the person doesn't respect you, they don't respect your opinions, they just don't regard you. Yeah, disrespect is the first sign that something is up in your relationship, right? So if the person just does not respect you anymore, they talk to you anyhow, they don't care about your feelings, like the words they speak to you, the things they do to you, you know, they don't show up for your family, right? In front of your family, they disrespect you. They disrespect you with whatever disrespect is means to you. Yeah, like it could be like around your friends, you call them and you know, they just give you cold shoulders, they don't talk. You know, maybe you did something small to them that annoyed them and they don't mind embarrassing you in front of your family, in front of your friends, or in public. They get irritated by you. They like when disrespect or they sleep around and they don't care about you finding out. That is disrespect on the highest order, okay, at the on the highest level, right? When you start to see those patterns in your relationship, then something is definitely wrong somewhere, and you need to have that conversation with the person, right? And I think the last thing that I would talk about is when you feel it. There's something called instinct, right? You know when someone is taking you for a ride. Sometimes we don't listen to, I don't think it's the feeling. If you're a Christian, it's the Holy Spirit, right? When you just know in your spirit that something is off, then something is off, especially if you're a Christian and you have the Holy Spirit inside of you, right? And you know this is not from your feelings, it's not from your emotions, right? This is you knowing. There's a knowing in your heart that something is not right in this relationship, right? You need to have that conversation, right? Maybe in your heart you have a feeling or a sense that this person is cheating, or this person is lying, or this person is not telling the truth, right? And I think that's also one sign when you're lying. When you're lying to the person, even for things that you should not lie about, you find yourself lying, or you've caught them in a lie several times, right? Yeah. So anyways, when you have that gut feeling that something is off, maybe you need to listen to that feeling, right? So anyways, that is where we're going to end into this video. Let me know if this has been helpful to you. Have you ever had those signs? Is there any other signs that I am missing out that I did not mention? Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you guys so very much for keep coming back, for keep watching. I am super grateful to you guys. Until we meet again, I still remain Victoria Fash. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have an amazing week, okay? Bye.